BRAINY presents 12 healthy choices that are actually terrible for you. Health advice surrounds everyday life. It appears on food labels and social media feeds, on popular podcasts, and in news headlines. The messaging typically encourages discipline and constant improvement. Many people respond by trying harder. They choose the healthier option whenever possible. They build routines around food, movement, and habits that promise long-term benefits. But despite all that effort, a lot of folks still feel tired, inflamed, unfocused, or stuck in cycles of progress and relapse. This happens because health choices don't exist in isolation. The body responds to patterns, timing, stress levels, and recovery. When certain habits are repeated daily without adjustment, even well-intended choices can create slow, cumulative strain. With that in mind, here are some choices that look responsible on the surface, but quietly work against your body. Eating constantly to boost metabolism. For years, we were told that eating every 2 or 3 hours keeps metabolism high. You wish. What it really does is keep insulin elevated all day and blur the line between actual hunger and habit. If you're constantly eating, your body never fully switches into fat burning or repair mode. Digestion turns into a constant background task, and you end up eating more overall without realizing it, simply because the clock says it's time. Metabolism isn't all that fragile. It doesn't just shut off because you didn't snack. Avoiding salt at all costs. Salt became a villain long before most people understood what it actually does in the body. Sodium is essential for nerve signaling, muscle contraction, fluid balance, and even energy levels. When you aggressively cut salt, especially while drinking a lot of water or exercising, fatigue and dizziness often follow. These symptoms are actually frequently misinterpreted as dehydration or low blood sugar. The issue was never salt on its own. Meals prepared at home rely on it for balance. Salt intake tends to become problematic if you primarily consume ultra-processed foods. Drinking fruit juice instead of soda. Everyone knows soda is bad. That message is not even up for debate. So juice feels like the option you're allowed to have. After all, it has fruit on the label. It sounds natural. You drink it with breakfast, grab it when you want something cold, or add it to your day without much thought. But metabolically, juice behaves much closer to soda than you'd expect. The fiber is gone, and the sugar hits quickly. Liquid calories don't trigger fullness the way solid food does, so it's easy to drink far more than you'd ever eat. While whole fruit slows digestion and feeds gut bacteria, juice skips that process entirely. Plus, the body can't tell whether all the sugars came from an orchard or a factory. Low-fat or fat-free foods. In a similar vein, low-fat and fat-free foods tend to feel like the responsible option when you're trying to eat better. Well, that's not the case. When fat is removed, something has to replace it. Usually that replacement is sugar, starch, or chemical thickening agents. Fat slows digestion and helps you feel satisfied. Without it, blood sugar rises faster and drops more sharply. Hunger shows up sooner, cravings get louder, like much louder. Avoiding fat will not make you leaner. It makes you more snacky, more anxious around food, and less stable in terms of energy throughout the day. Believing more fiber is always better. Yes, fiber is important, but that doesn't mean more is better. Excessive fiber can actually worsen bloating, interfere with mineral absorption, and slow digestion, especially if you're more sensitive. Many gut issues stem from piling fiber on top of an already stressed digestive system, so don't go crazy. Fiber works best when it aligns with digestion speed, hydration status, and food quality. Treating it like a universal fix only creates discomfort. Overusing natural supplements. Natural has become a shortcut word for safe and gentle, but biology doesn't work that way. Supplements move through the same metabolic pathways as medications. The liver processes vitamins, herbs, and extracts, regardless of how they are marketed. Stacking supplements increases metabolic workload and raises the risk of accumulation or interaction. Fat-soluble vitamins build up over time. Herbal compounds influence hormone signaling and the effectiveness of medications. Supplements should be viewed merely as tools, not insurance policies. When they replace food, sleep, or stress management, they become part of the problem. Replacing meals with protein bars or shakes. Not gonna lie, protein bars and shakes are super convenient. They usually pack a decent amount of protein, added vitamins, and minerals meant to support muscle recovery and energy into an easy-to-consume form. But most of them are also filled with industrial oils, artificial flavors, and sweeteners, as well as stabilizers designed for a longer shelf life. Moreover, these products reduce chewing, digestive signaling, and satiety feedback. Remember, liquid calories move through the digestive system quickly, whereas whole meals provide texture, mechanical digestion, and nutrient diversity that processed substitutes lack. Occasional use is fine. Daily reliance, however, can create micronutrient gaps and digestive irritation. Excessive cardio for weight loss. When people focus on losing weight, cardio usually becomes a big part of their routine. Cardio burns calories, right? Technically, yes, but it also raises stress hormones, especially when it's overdone. Long sessions performed day after day can actually increase your appetite, reduce muscle mass, and slow resting metabolism. The body adapts by becoming more efficient, not by burning calories endlessly. Muscle preservation and recovery capacity influence long-term metabolic health more than calorie expenditure alone. Cardio still has a place, but excessive reliance on it tends to create a cycle in which more work yields diminishing returns. Drinking tons of water. Hydration advice often ignores balance. We've all heard about the 8 glasses a day rule, which is often treated like a minimum requirement rather than a general guideline. Many people sip water all day just to make sure they're hitting the number, even when thirst isn't really there. But drinking large amounts without considering your food intake, activity level, or electrolytes can dilute sodium levels. As a result, fatigue, headaches, lightheadedness, and trouble concentrating start creeping in. Hydration works best when it responds to your body instead of a fixed rule. Fluids, minerals, and timing all play a role, and focusing on volume alone misses that bigger picture. Switching to plant-based junk food. Here's a hard pill to swallow for many of you health-conscious friends. Plant-based doesn't automatically mean healthy. As a matter of fact, plant-based labels apply to highly processed foods just as easily as they do to whole foods. Refined oils, starches, and additives dominate many of these alternatives. Needless to say, when these foods become staples, nutrient density tends to drop. I've been there myself, relying on products that looked healthy on the surface while doing very little to keep me satisfied. Such meals digest quickly, hunger returns sooner, and energy feels less stable throughout the day. Protein quality often suffers, and micronutrients like iron, B12, and omega-3s become harder to cover without deliberate planning. This way of eating can feel incredibly unsatisfying and quite unsustainable in the long run. Using detoxes and cleanses. Guess what? Your body already has a detox system. It's called your liver and kidneys. These organs work around the clock, filtering blood, processing waste, and breaking down substances so they can be safely removed. This process doesn't turn on for a cleanse or pause when one ends. Besides, most detoxes and cleanses create short-term weight loss that simply reflects temporary water loss and glycogen depletion. The scale might move, but the underlying systems responsible for detoxification continue operating the same way they always do. In reality, proper nutrition, hydration, and sleep support detox pathways more effectively than any short-term intervention. Avoiding sunlight completely. Fear of skin damage pushed many people to completely avoid the sun. If you're one of them, you might want to change that habit. You see, sun exposure influences vitamin D production, immune function, daily energy patterns, and mood. When exposure drops too low for extended periods, deficiency-related symptoms begin to appear. Additionally, spending most of the day indoors under artificial lighting affects how your body tracks time. Sleep timing shifts, mornings feel harder, and nights feel less restorative. Regular, moderate sunlight provides signals that help keep these systems aligned. Removing it entirely creates imbalances that supplements can't fully correct. Look, at the end of the day, most health mistakes aren't necessarily reckless decisions. They come from following rules without asking whether those rules make sense for your body, your life, and your nervous system. Real health is flexible. It leaves room for context and humanity. If a healthy choice makes you more anxious, more rigid, or more exhausted, it's worth questioning, even if it's popular. If this video helped you rethink some of the healthy habits you've been following, take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more grounded content like this. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching.